Shadow and Bone fans have been going absolutely wild with theories about where the show might go in its second season. Old fans of the books and new fans alike have flocked to the Netflix series, and while season 2 is yet to be confirmed, we have more than enough reason to believe it's going to happen. We will be counting down the top 5 fan theories that have us biting our nails in anticipation for Shadow and Bone season 2. Also, a warning that we will mention some key plot points from Shadow and Bone season 1 as these lead to many of our theories. But before we get into the video, don't forget to leave a like and subscribe to the channel with notifications turned on, so you don't miss any of the new videos we post. Coming in at number 5, we have General Kirigan's Shadow Monsters. Remember, we did say spoilers for season 1. If you haven't watched it all the way through yet and don't want it spoiled, click away. We've warned you. At the end of No Mourners, the last episode of Season 1, we see General Kirigan emerging from the Shadow Fold. He looks a bit worse for wear, and we can't blame him, but his power is revealed when he beckons shadowy creatures from the fold that follow him forward. These creatures will very clearly play a big part in Season 2. Since it seems that they are from the fold, we wonder if they are an extension of the Darkling himself, or potentially their own sentient being. If they come from the Darkling, then we can assume they have his interest at heart. This means taking over the world in the simplest way possible. If this is the case, we can see these creatures as being minions to the Darkling's desire and following his every command. However, if it's shown that these creatures exist as their own beings, the potential here is limitless. We could see the fold creatures become their own characters with personal motives and allegiances. Then we can wonder even further, is the fold just an environmental occurrence or does it possess something more? If the Darkling created the fold, is it a part of him? This could explain why the Darkling remains so intent on using the fold as a weapon. If the fold can spawn creatures, then we can only wonder if it might be alive itself. Now that would make an interesting season 2. Next up, at 4, we have Alina's love interest. We all know Alina was interested in Kirigan. Yes, of course, she also shares something very deep with Mal, and that may seem like the obvious choice of love interest after Kirigan's true identity is revealed to Alina, but many theorize that this won't be the last we see of Alina and Kirigan together. There's no denying that Kirigan has a charm. He used this charm to mostly convince Alina that he was working with her to help destroy the fold when his intentions were in fact the complete opposite. Is the knowledge of Kirigan's true identity enough to change her heart? Now that Mal is back on the scene, and the two realized that it wasn't either's fault that their letters weren't being received, it doesn't make sense that they continue their affair and fall in love with each other. But the theory that Alina may still hold some feelings for Kirigan tells us that Alina may not be trusted. She does, after all, possess the power capable of destroying the fold, so the Darkling is going to want to be in her good books as much as possible. If the Darkling really wants to ensure his victory, he might even double down on his deceit and continue to tempt Alina with his charming looks and personality. If Alina falls for this, we can only hope she still uses her powers for good and doesn't become an agent of the Darkling, but only time will tell. At number 3 are the Amplifiers. When Alina effectively merged with the stag in season 1, she was bestowed with its amplifying powers despite Kirigan's best attempts at claiming them for himself. Alina set herself free from Kirigan's control and made an honestly badass scene out of it too. Let's remember, however, that the stag wasn't the only amplifier. The legends of Morozova's creatures say that killing one will amplify the powers of the Grisha that did it, which is why Kirigan was so confused as to how Alina merged with the stag after she showed it mercy. The legends also say there are at least 2 more amplifiers to be found, which leaves season 2 wide open with the possibility of tracking down these creatures. If Alina successfully manages to obtain another amplifier, there is no doubt her Grisha powers will become incredibly strong. This may be hard though, as the reason the stag chose Alina for its powers was mainly due to the long history the two had through the shared visions of one another. If Alina intends to obtain more amplifiers, she might have to kill Morozova's creatures to do so. Does she have it in her? Or will she continue to show mercy as she did to the stag? Obviously, Kirigan is not going to go down without a fight if more amplifiers are in the question. We can see in season 2, Kirigan becoming power hungry, tracking down Morozova's creatures to power himself and the fold creatures he was seen to summon. Now that Kirigan has witnessed Alina's abilities firsthand, he has all the more reason to try to gain anything to his advantage that ensures he continues to control the fold. At number 2 is the Bone Road. This one ties in very closely to the idea that Alina will desire to acquire more of Morozova's amplifiers heading into season 2. When Alina first learns of the amplifiers, Amplifiers, she is shown a book that illustrates the stag, but also two other creatures, the sea whip and the firebird. The sea whip is of particular interest. It is said to be a serpent-like creature that lurks in the waters of an area known as the Bone Road, which are icy waters to the north. The theory is it will be very likely we will see Alina and Mal travel to the Bone Road, where they must either kill or capture the sea whip and use its scales to create an amplifier. The journey to the Bone Road would be perilous. The official map of the Shadow and Bone world, the Grishaverse, shows us that it is located all the way north at the very top of the True Sea. Not only is it far away, but the official map and lore of the Grishaverse tell us that this area is a deadly iceberg-strewn passage. Oh, and one more thing. It's rumored to be the home of the legendary ice dragon, Rosalie. We know that Alina is aware of the Bone Road, as she learns of it in a book during the library scene. If Alina decides to embark on a quest for more of Morozov's amplifiers, a trip to the Bone Road is inevitable and could very likely be a massive part of Season 2's storyline. It's yet to be known if Kirigan will try and follow her there, or even more, the Fold in that direction to help defeat the Sea Whip and claim the amplifier for his own. Further still, there's the dragon Rosalie to worry about. Will the legends prove true? And if so, could we see Alina and Kirigan work together to defeat the Rosalie? And finally, at number 1 is the theory that Mal himself is a Grisha. This one sounds bold, but hear us out. We and many others have reason to believe that Mal might be in fact a Grisha. Mal hasn't demonstrated any physical powers in the way that a Grisha normally would. Let's take it back to when Alina used her Sun Summoner powers inside the Fold. We know that the power came to her through her pain, but remember, there is a key detail when using Grisha powers. They can be amplified. Where was Mal when Alina used the Sun Summoner abilities? That's right, Mal was holding Alina's hand. We know that holding the hand of a Grisha can amplify powers. We saw it when Kirigan held Alina's hand to help her discover her powers. And the two scenes line up perfectly well to tell us that Mal holding Alina's hand was no accident. This could mean that Mal is an amplifier, but it could also suggest that he himself is a Grisha. It seems like Shadow and Bone is hiding this from us, in one way or another. First, we know that Mal was never tested for Grisha powers in the orphanage because he was injured on the day of the testing. That seems fishy to me, and hints that maybe there's a lot more to Mal that is being held off to be revealed later. Secondly, Mal mentions that when holding hands with Alina as a child and now as they reunite, he hears a high-pitched sound in the very back of his head. This definitely seems symbolic of some kind of connection and links well with his tracking abilities that were used to find the stag. We could see Mal hone in on his ability as a potential amplifier, or even Grisha, in Season 2. These have been the top 5 theories for Season 2 Shadow and Bone. At the very least, from the epic cliffhanger of Season 1, we know that Season 2 is going to shock us in ways we can't even imagine. Here's hoping we see some intense love dynamics and adventures to the Bone Road. But regardless of what happens, we can't wait to find out.